There is a kind of silence that feels like absence. You pray and nothing seems to move. You wait and nothing seems to change. You look around for some sign that you are still being thought of, still being watched over, still part of whatever plan was supposed to be unfolding. And you find nothing, just quiet. And in that quiet, a thought creeps in. Maybe you were forgotten. Maybe the plan moved on without you. Maybe everyone else got their moment, their answer, their breakthrough. And somehow you got left in the waiting room. If you have felt that, you are not imagining it. The feeling is real. But the conclusion you drew from it was wrong. Here is what was actually happening during that silence. You were not forgotten. You were positioned. There is a difference between being left somewhere and being placed somewhere. Being left implies someone walked away. Being placed implies someone set you down, deliberately, exactly where you needed to be, and then stepped back so the next part could happen without interference. From where you were standing, those two things can look identical. The same silence, the same stillness, the same sense of being alone. But only one of them was actually happening to you. Think about how a seed actually works. A seed does not grow while everyone is watching. It does not grow loudly or quickly or in a way that produces anything visible for a long time. For most of its early life, a seed sits in the dark, underground, doing something that looks, from the outside, exactly like nothing. If you dug it up halfway through, you would not find proof that something was happening. You would find dirt and a seed and silence, but something was happening. The entire infrastructure of what would eventually become visible was being built in that darkness. The roots, the foundation, the structure that would later hold up everything else. The silence was not the absence of growth. The silence was the location where growth was happening. This is where the matrix tries to step in. The matrix is built on visibility. It rewards what can be seen, measured, posted, and compared. It trains you slowly and constantly to believe that if something is not visible, it is not real. If it is not happening on the surface, it is not happening at all. So when your life goes quiet, when there is no progress to show, no milestone to mark, no evidence to hold up, the matrix offers you an explanation. It tells you the quiet means you are failing, falling behind, being skipped over. It is a convincing explanation. It is also the wrong one. Here is the truth the matrix cannot offer you because it doesn't operate on this timeline. There is a difference between a door that is closed and a door that has not been reached yet. A closed door means something ended. A door not yet reached means something is still in motion. You simply have not arrived at the part where it becomes visible. Most of what you have experienced as silence was not a closed door. It was distance, the space between where you were standing and where the next door was located. And distance, no matter how long it takes to walk, is not the same as rejection. Now think about what was actually required of you during that distance. Not performance, not proof, not constant motion or visible output. What was required was that you kept going, that you did not stop walking just because you couldn't see the door yet, that you continued showing up to your life, your ordinary, unremarkable, unwitnessed life, even when nothing about it seemed to be leading anywhere. That continuing is not a small thing. It is, in fact, the entire test. Most people do not fail because they were unworthy, or unprepared, or because the plan skipped them. Most people fail in the quiet because they assume the quiet means it is over. They stop walking right before the door because from where they were standing, there was no way to know how close they actually were. The plan does not announce itself in advance. It does not send a warning that says the silence is about to end. It simply ends. And the only people who are there when it does are the ones who kept walking through the part where nothing seemed to be happening. So let's go back to the feeling itself, the feeling of being forgotten. That feeling usually shows up at a very specific time, not at the beginning of a hard season, and not in the middle of it, but near the end. Right when the weight has been carried the longest. Right when the waiting has gone on past the point where it felt sustainable. This is not a coincidence. The feeling of being forgotten tends to intensify right before the thing it is lying to you about becomes untrue. It is, in a strange way, often one of the last things you feel before the silence breaks. Consider what it would mean if, instead of a sign that something had gone wrong, that feeling was actually a sign that something was almost finished. Not finished in the way the Matrix defines finished, with proof and announcements and visible results. Finished in the way a season finishes, quietly, internally, before anything on the outside shows it. The forgotten feeling might not be evidence that you were left behind. It might be evidence that you were standing right at the edge of the part you could not see yet, closer than you had any way of knowing. Now here is something that might be hard to hear, but it matters. Being forgotten by the world is not the same as being forgotten by God. The world forgets people constantly. It forgets the ones who are not currently producing something visible, not currently useful, not currently part of whatever is trending. But what the world forgets is often exactly what is being protected. There is a kind of attention that comes with visibility, and a kind of attention that comes from people who only show up when something can be gained from you. If the world forgot about you during a season, it may be because that season was never meant to include that kind of attention. It was meant to be quiet, so that what was being built in you could be built without interference. So if you go back to that opening image, the empty field, the single figure standing alone, the quiet, here is what was actually true the entire time. That figure was never actually alone. The distance, the silence, the apparent absence of anything happening, none of that meant abandonment. It meant the space was being cleared. The interference was being removed. The conditions were being prepared. What looked like emptiness was actually preparation. What looked like being overlooked was actually being protected from everything that would have disrupted what was forming. So what do you do with this now? If you are still in that quiet season, if the silence has not broken yet, and you are still walking through the part that does not make sense, the answer is not to force the silence to end. You cannot rush a seed. You cannot speed up the part of the process that happens in the dark. What you can do is stop interpreting the quiet as proof of anything. Stop letting the silence write the story of whether you matter, whether you were chosen, whether the plan still includes you. The plan was never paused. It was just operating somewhere you couldn't see. And if you are coming out of that season now, if you can feel something shifting, even slightly, even if you cannot fully explain it yet, pay attention to that. That shift is not random. It is the sound of something that was being built quietly, finally becoming ready to be seen. You do not need to understand exactly what it is yet. You only need to recognize that the silence has done its work, and what comes next was never going to arrive any other way. The quiet part of the plan was not a delay. It was the plan. So if you have spent time feeling forgotten by people, by circumstances, by a plan that seemed to have gone quiet on you, let that feeling be replaced now with something more accurate. You were not forgotten. You were being prepared somewhere quiet enough that nothing could interrupt it. And the same silence that once felt like proof you did not matter was, this entire time, the clearest evidence that you did. If this reached you the way it was meant to, write this where you can see it. I was never forgotten. Type it in the comments. Not as a hope, as something you are choosing to believe now about every quiet season you have ever walked through. And if you have not already, subscribe, because this story is still being told, one chapter at a time. And you are not meant to miss what comes next. Until the next one, awakened choosers.